All right, Ohio State Buckeye football fans, are you excited about the transfer of Kansas State quarterback Will Howard being announced yesterday? Today, I'm hopping on here. I want to give you some reasons to be optimistic and maybe a few reasons to be not so optimistic about quarterback Will Howard. But I'm going to start off with a quick overview of the player himself. He was a 3-star recruit out of the state of Pennsylvania, according to 24/7 Sports. He was a pro-style quarterback when he came out of high school, or considered a pro-style quarterback, yet he did display some dual threat capabilities coming out of high school. Now, in terms of his offer list, it was not on par with what Ohio State fans are used to. He did have offers from the likes of Bowling Green, Cincinnati, and Harvard. Harvard's an interesting one to me. I need to dig a little deeper into that. You do not get offers from an Ivy League if you are not considered a smart human in the first place. So that's one to think about and dig into in terms of his football IQ. He ultimately did choose to attend Kansas State. Now, as a transfer, he is a one-year rental, by the way. He's a fifth-year guy with a ton of experience. He is the 24th ranked player in the portal, according to 24/7 Sports. He was the 6th rated quarterback in the transfer portal overall. It had appeared that he was a heavier lean to transfer to the USC Trojans. But here we are, folks. He is now an Ohio State Buckeye. You no longer have to sit there being concerned about Devin Brown or Kleinholtz or whatever his name is, Keenholtz, Kleinholtz, whatever. You do have to think about who's going to be the backup, because I do think when the transfer portal window does open back up, both those guys are out of there. Now, as far as his Kansas State accolades are concerned, he has been listed on a plethora of awards watch lists in his time at Kansas State, including the Maxwell Award, the Davey O'Brien Award. He was actually named Academic All-Big 12 in 2021 and 2022. I did not check for 2023, but I suppose this sort of points to his IQ and why he was actually offered by Harvard in the first place. He left Kansas State, by the way, ranked 3rd in career yards per game average. He was 10th in career passing efficiency. Will Howard's career statistics and some of his best performances in various categories are as follows. Over his career, Howard, he has accumulated more than 900 yards rushing in 34 games. His longest rush being 80 yards. So obviously he has enough long speed to separate enough, or maybe he was breaking tackles. I haven't went back and looked at the 80-yard run, but nevertheless, the athleticism, it is absolutely there for him. He scored 19 rushing touchdowns in his time at Kansas State. He averages 4.1 yards per rush attempt. Now, in terms of throwing the football at Kansas State, he has 779 pass attempts. He's completed about 59% of his throws. He's got almost 5,800 career yards. He's thrown 48 touchdowns to 25 interceptions. His longest pass play being another 80-yard play. He averages about 170 yards passing per game. All right, so let's dive into some of the additional advanced stats, as well as how he may or may not fit in the Ryan Day offense. And I want to start with the optimistic stuff. So number one, you are getting an experienced fifth-year player. This is important. This is absolutely important in football, especially when you have an already very young quarterback room that lacks experience. This is a big deal for a guy like freshman quarterback Aaron Noland coming into the fray here. When he's in that QB room, it's important for him to learn the day-to-day activities of a veteran quarterback, and there's nothing better than having a fifth-year senior on hand with a ton of experience for this guy to learn from. So that's one way to kind of look at this as we move forward. Now, as far as Keenholtz and Devin Brown are concerned, I'm willing to bet that they're going to transfer out as soon as the portal window presents itself again. I am willing to bet Devin Brown will actually stick it out as long as he can to try to compete. But at the end of the day, I think both those guys are out of there. Another reason, though, to be optimistic about Will Howard is he is a big-bodied quarterback that can also run the football, as I mentioned. And when I say big body, he is in the range of Josh Allen in terms of his frame. He's 6'5", 240 pounds. Now, in terms of Ohio State's scheme, will Ryan Day utilize this aspect of his game? There's no doubt in my mind. Ryan Day brought him here for this reason. Will he abuse this aspect of Will Howard's game? I don't think he will. That's not really in Ryan Day's nature. We've seen him utilize Justin Fields as a runner and a thrower to great effect. We had seen him use CJ Stroud as a runner, not much by design, but the ability was there for CJ Stroud to run it if necessary, right? So I see him kind of working with this guy in that way, but definitely more so in short yardage situations, kind of like Tim Tebow Like you get closer to the goal line, you got a big body quarterback, or Josh Allen, by the way, got a big body quarterback near the goal line, QB power, QB run, and it opens up other things too. You can run zone read closer to the end zone, and the threat of QB run is going to be there. It's going to open some other things up. So it does add the element to an Ohio State offense that I think has been missing for the past couple of years, a more dynamic runner at the quarterback position, someone who was built to handle it, especially in the Big Ten, where defenses are going to be a little bit more stout. But I think it's going to matter more down the stretch of the season, especially against Michigan. But we'll talk about that here in a minute. The numbers, they do tell the story, though. His throw distribution in 2023, he attempted 60% of his throws either behind the line of scrimmage or between that 0 to 9 yard throw depth. He attempts roughly 25% of his total attempts at the intermediate range. That's the 10 to 19 yard range, with 15% of his throws coming at the 20 plus yard or longer range. Those are the deep pass attempts. Now, how effective is he at each level is also going to matter in this Ohio State offense. He is the most effective as a passer from that 0 to 19 yard range. So when you blend the short yards and the intermediate averages together, in 2023, he completed 68% for 1,763 of his total yards. He averaged almost 8 yards per pass attempt, but his touchdown to interception ratio from this level, and if we include the deep level, it's the most concerning area of his game. It's the turnover. Now, before we actually freak out about anything, especially the throw depth and where he has his most success as a passer, I want you to consider the Ryan Day offense and how it adapts to players. Ryan Day's offense is a pro-style offense. There are some air raid functionalities built into it. So in terms of the intermediate throws, this is a beneficial aspect. And when I look at the Ohio State roster currently, the current personnel, especially at the wide receiver position, this looks like a perfect fit for their offense. I mean, when you consider the fact that you could have Travion Henderson coming back, that's an excellent pass catcher out of the backfield. If Will Howard wants to dump it to him more often, or he has the understanding already built into him that, hey, the intermediate or the deep stuff, it's just not open, so I'm just going to dump it to my outlet here. This can be a dynamic aspect of the Ohio State offense. The other aspect is the ability to throw it accurately at the short and intermediate levels of the field with these athletic receivers. That can be just as dynamic as launching it deep, because receivers like Emeka Egbuka and some of these younger players coming up are all very similar in terms of their ability after the catch. Once they get the ball in their hands, they turn into a running back in space. So having a quarterback that can excel in throwing it at the short and intermediate levels of the field can be just as dynamic for this Ohio State offense as launching it 20 plus yards down the field and hitting big plays. Now, as far as the running ability, he is a truck when he's running down the field, okay? It could take, more than one defender to bring him down, but it does take him a second to kind of get going as a runner. He's not one of those dudes just shot out of a cannon. This is not Braxton Miller that we're talking about here. It's not Terrell Pryor even. He doesn't have elite speed, but he has enough effective speed to put defenses on notice, force defenses to defend all 11, and that opens up so much more for an offense, especially an Ohio State offense that has all these dynamic weapons surrounding him, so to speak. So he can also, like I said, he can get the yards after contact, but considering the depth at quarterback behind him this season, you just don't want to lean too heavily on him running the football. Like I said, I can imagine that him running the football this season coming up, 2024, if he is in fact the guy who is named the starter over whoever else is on the roster at quarterback, I can imagine Ryan Day is going to save that aspect to use more heavily against opponents in bigger matchups down the road. All right, so let's examine a few of the concerns here. We already know Will Howard, he throws a lot of interceptions. Some are just off-target throws. Some of his throws are just late. Some throws just needed to get out of his hand quicker. He does have a tendency to lock in on his first read. Now, he is not going to get away with that versus Michigan, in case you were wondering. Ryan Day is going to absolutely need to work with him, probably one-on-one, a little bit more closely. I don't know what's up with the QB coach at Ohio State. I know it's Urban Meyer's son-in-law or whatever the case may be. I heard some rumors that he skipped some meetings and some sessions that he was supposed to be involved in during bowl prep or whatever. I have not verified that, so I'm not trying to slander anybody, so I can't fully verify that. But if that is the case, you probably should try to figure out your quarterback coach situation as quickly as possible. That's a big deal. Okay, that's like the main part of your offense, number one. And if you are the head coach, you're Ryan Day, you're a quarterback yourself at one point. You're supposed to be a QB guru. He should be working one-on-one with this guy probably himself. You probably don't need to hire a quarterback coach for that matter. But overall, I think this is a solid get for Ohio State, who was absolutely in desperate need of a win since they have not won anything since mid-November. And Buckeye fans are extremely anxious. I mean, these people are anxious people who will run you out of town if you cannot beat Michigan. Do I think Howard is the guy that can get them over the hump? I would not bet on him being the answer to beating Michigan. I think ultimately Kyle McCord and Will Howard are fairly equal, with the exception of Howard's ability to run the football. But again, time will tell. Will Howard, he could just take off and be absolutely amazing because he's surrounded with elite talent and coaching. And that could be the bottom line at the end of the day. Like I said, Ryan Day, he's going to have to do the one-on-one thing, I imagine, with this guy a little bit more leading up to the 2024 college football season. All right, that's all I have for now. Please let me know what you think about Ohio State picking up Kansas State transfer quarterback Will Howard from the transfer portal. Does he have the juice to beat Michigan or not? I do want to say thank you for watching. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more content.